Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have a bunch of updates. Firstly, we managed to fill the two newly added raised beds with wood. You'll see me on the video there just gathering wood, anything that I can get my hands on around the property, whether that's logs or branches or whatnot, putting in the larger pieces of wood at the bottom of the bed and then layering up with the smaller pieces. And this took about an hour and a half this morning with multiple trips with the wheelbarrow back and forth. But it was good and it's ready to go, and you'll see a close-up in a second. The other two things we're going to talk about today is starting the hardening off process. It's going to be a beautiful day, 9 Celsius, that's about 48 Fahrenheit, so we'll show you that. And then we managed to get the first seeds in, the direct seeds for radishes and for green onions. So spring planting has officially begun. So after an hour and a half of lugging branches and wood and logs and whatever I can get my hands on around the property, this is about how full I feel. It's like the bottom half, I'd say, and then we're going to be filling the other half with soil. That should be arriving early next week, Monday, Tuesday, somewhere on there. So that's the first one. Then the other one is the same, similar. So that's as much wood, and I try to. I slide them under that middle bar. There's a bar in the middle of the bed just for stability. So I slide them underneath there and just try to tuck them in anywhere where there's room. That's pretty much it. Next step is going to fill it with soil and then work on planting things up and transplanting the seedlings out. And then we'll be adding the other beds along this side, lengthwise, 2 on that side and then 2 on the far side over there, and then the back garden will finally be done. And the hardening off process has started. I brought these out. I'm keeping them in the shade just because the sun is out, and on day 1 they'll be there for about an hour, and I didn't want them to be freaked out by the sun. Just the wind and the cool air is sufficient. And they're all hanging out, blowing around in the wind. I watered them to make sure that they had enough, protection, I guess, just to make sure that they weren't dry coming out, because they are going to dry out a little bit while they're out here. And then tomorrow, depending on the weather, every time I bring them out, it'll be for a little bit longer. So today I'm leaving them out for an hour. Tomorrow, if the weather permits, it'll be 2. It's okay if you skip a day for weather. And then it'll just 2 hours, 4 hours, the whole day. And then they'll be tough enough to transplant out into the raised beds. So today we're going to be seeding green onions and radishes, and I'll show you how I do that. So my plan is to seed green onions in this half of this bed, and I don't use any tools. I just mark it with my fingers, like just to make a line. Now normally, since I do the square foot gardening method, I just make myself like 8 little squares, roughly. It's not rocket science. Just to give myself kind of like a guide. And then I just come through. I'm going to be putting 9 per square, and then I just make myself my little holes. That's 9. Doesn't have to be exact. I'll do this. I'll just do these few, and then I'll show you how I seed them. Get the leaves out of the way. All right, I'll do the rest later. So then what I do next is pour the seeds out. Pour a bunch of them. We're going to be doing a lot today. All right. Back in my pocket. And then for this, I'm going to do 1 per hole. And these ones are actually of a good size. And then I just go through and add 1 per hole. It can get a little tedious. You could put more than 1 if your seeds are old, or if you're not too sure, or if it's just hard to see, which sometimes happens. I don't know if I got that one. Okay. You know what? I'll do this one too, since we're down here. once these are in, all right, I'll do the other half later, but I wanted to show you what I do after this. So this half has been planted, and then all I do is just come through and cover up my little holes. I pat them in. You probably don't have to. But it kind of gives me an indicator that I've planted this and I don't have to touch it. And then I'll come back. I'm going to do the other side. The same thing with green onions. I'm going to do the radishes on the other side of the bed. And then I'll come back and water everything in really well. All right, and then on this side, I've already made my holes for the radishes. Just double check I got everything in. Okay, we're going to follow the same process. And this one too, I'm just going to put one in each, or I'm going to try to put one in each if two fall, not the end of the world. Radishes are a really good crop because they're super fast. You can have radishes like within 30 days. They're one of the most rewarding things to grow if you like radishes. And one thing that I discovered last year is that roasting radishes, if you've never done it, they're really good. Usually we eat them, raw in salads and stuff. Hold on, I have to get more seeds. But if you roast them, they're really, really good. Stop the seed there. Something different. They get really mild. They're not peppery at all when you roast them. And you roast them like any other vegetable. Did I get some in there? No. All right, I think that's it. I'm just gonna put these there. Hold my seeds, cover up my little holes. All right, that's it for planting for today. And then I'm just gonna come back and water them in. Just picked up my watering can. Now we're gonna water them in. And you wanna water them in good. Even though the seeds are just at the top here, you want to make sure they're moist. And then the beauty about a spring garden is that the rains help a lot, depending on where you live. We're in a zone 6A, we're in the Maritimes, Nova Scotia, Canada. And it rains quite a bit I'll come to this side, in the springtime. So otherwise, as long as you make sure that they're moist, not soggy, not damp, or I guess damp. You just don't want them to dry out. So keeping an eye on the weather. Now that there's seeds in, I'll be monitoring the weather on a daily basis and coming out to water. When it's just like little spots like this, like not the full garden, I'll just use a watering can, otherwise I'll get the hose. Bring it out. All right, that's it. First seeds of the season are in.